background, coming from tech, leaving Microsoft, starting a fashion company, and now building a health and food company right now that has massive scale. What you built today is not an easy company to go build because it's a marketplace, there's delivery, there's a lot of different moving pieces. So as you came through the idea and brewing that, walk me through a couple of first iterations of how you went about thinking of Thrive Market, because there's so many things that you have to go accomplish to go from A to Z here, right? I should even say from just A to B, the first step. You're a CTO of the company, but what did you feel around you of other people to help successfully create that initial first step of the company?
Yeah. I mean, truth be told, we've been pretty fortunate as a business in that a lot of the foundational pieces that we put in place, certainly by the time I showed up, are still in place today. It's been about getting better and better at doing those things and doing it at more and more scale and more efficiently to create a better customer experience. So the mission of the business is to make healthy living easy and affordable for as many people as possible. The very earliest concepts of the business that never really got to market were the idea of a group buying experience for healthy products. I think of kind of a Groupon for healthy living where, there's a drop for a particular product and the community, buys in bulk, and then eventually, they get a deal and the product gets delivered to them. It sounded good in theory, but it turns out people don't shop for groceries that way and aren't willing to wait a couple of weeks for delivery. So we pivoted that model pretty quickly to a membership-based platform for healthy living. So now think, Costco meets Whole Foods online, or Costco meets Whole Foods meets Amazon. So, taken from the playbook of Amazon Prime and Costco, membership is a powerful organizing construct to bring together like-minded individuals. And so through the membership, we're able to, A, create a profit center for the business, and B, use those membership dollars to make sure we're creating value for our members through, exclusive pricing, high quality service, fast delivery, and so on. So that was the engine that we launched with. And, still the guts of the product as it stands today. Like, the membership is still in place. It's still a core part of our value proposition. The parts that were hardest to scale were the physical goods logistics of the business. So, even today, there are not a lot of businesses that are successfully shipping consumer packaged goods, across the country using national carriers. So, and we're not a single product that you're buying on subscription. We have a full assortment of over 6,000 healthy essentials that you'd find at your regular grocery store. So, all the stuff that you can imagine being tough to ship, glass jars of pasta sauce, bags of chips. We've got a very robust frozen offering. So building a best-in-class logistics, supply chain, operational competency was something that we invested in from day one. So a lot of e-commerce businesses are going to outsource their fulfillment to a third-party logistics company. And for most industries, that's probably the right early decision because, reduces capital expenditure. You're leveraging the scale of a third party, but no one really knew how to do that for groceries. So we built our own warehouse and fulfillment infrastructure from day one. And in the very early days, it was a 4,000 square foot warehouse that was also our office. So we set up and racked and binned everything and set up the pack stations and everything, and basically booted all the corporate staff into the corners of the building. And at peak, once we launched, the demand vastly outstripped our expectations. And we were effectively cycling through the entire warehouse worth of inventory every 3 days. So, it was total chaos in those early days, to say the least. But we stayed really committed to providing the best possible member experience we could. And I think the combination of the value we're providing on the platform and the fact that we were really invested in making the system better every single day allowed us to learn faster than a lot of businesses would in that area. Now, again, fast forward 10 years, we have, over 1 million square feet of warehouse space across 3 facilities. We still manage all our own fulfillment. Over 10 million packages a year get delivered through Thrive. So, that's an aspect of the business that's come a long way and been something that we've made significant investments in. I had enough knowledge coming in to build that from the ground up on day one. But, another principle that, I learned from my last business that we applied here is find real domain experts who are absolutely best in class at what they do and put them to work on those key areas. So, we've had really, really senior talent that we've had the good fortune of being able to bring on to the business. In most cases, earlier than we would have normally been able to do so because of the power of the mission. People are really passionate about what we're trying to do. So, we're able to draw, really amazing and talented individuals to come join the team. And that was certainly the case in operations. So our first head of operations built and upgraded 20 plus warehouses at Kroger, which was the second largest grocer in the country at the time. Joined us when, we had that 4,000 square foot warehouse, and sort of, I remember him walking around the building, sort of, chuckling ironically at everything that was in place. But then, rolled up his sleeves and got to work. And like before we knew it, we went from 4,000 square feet, 30,000 to 300,000 to $1 million. So, get the right people in place and the change can happen awfully fast.
Sasha, I would challenge you this is I think a lot of people who are listening to this podcast today say, I have an idea like Thrive Market. I want to go start a new venture today. I want to go attract someone like you found who managed 20 Krogers. I don't have any revenue today. I've raised some money, but I don't know how to go structure and hire the best talent today to make sure my vision can come true. So, there's ways of phantom equity, and bringing the right people on is, part of the whole journey. But I think the hardest part that people have is unfortunately knowing how to go recruit the best talent when you don't have $100 million company to go play with today. How did you overcome that?
I think it comes back to the mission was a big piece. So having a really clear articulation of what we were trying to do and the scale of the problem we were trying to solve is what attracted great talent. If our market size had been smaller, or kind of the scale of the problem we're trying to solve had been smaller, or we were not able to as clearly paint the picture of why, eradicating the barriers of price, geography, information to get healthy products in people's hands was not a really important and kind of, existential problem in some ways to solve. Like, we wouldn't have been able to hire those people. Now, look, we had other unfair competitive advantages. We had an army of influencers that we'd enrolled onto the platform as early investors. So we had access to capital. We had the ability to create momentum and drive growth in the business. But I think having a valuable purpose is what most people, kind of regardless of their level of seniority, want to come work on. And then depending on the scale of your business, making sure the right incentives are there. Every employee at Thrive today has equity ownership. We want to make sure that ownership culture, remains a key part of what we do, even as the business scales. But in the early days, that was everything, right? We were not paying huge salaries for, high-powered executives to come join us. They were buying into the business, and they were buying into the growth that they thought they could influence and create.